The invitation arrived on a Tuesday morning, thin as a blade and just as sharp. It sat on the kitchen counter while the coffee went cold, announcing a wedding I never thought I'd have to attend, let alone survive. My ex was getting married. To someone else. In the same city where we once planned our future. And as I stared at that envelope, the weight of old promises, broken trust, and unfinished healing pressed into my chest until breathing felt optional. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected turns of fate, take a moment right now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that life can still surprise us, even when we think we've seen the worst of it. My name is Grace Whitmore, and this story unfolded in Charleston, South Carolina, where the streets look gentle, even when your heart is not. I had rebuilt my life piece by piece after the divorce, learning how to sit alone with silence and not feel abandoned by it. I worked as an event coordinator for a large firm, a job that required smiling through other people's joy while carefully guarding my own bruises. The irony of being invited to my ex-husband Matthew's wedding was cruel, but declining felt like admitting defeat, like letting the past still control me. The worst part wasn't the wedding itself. It was the assumption that I would arrive alone, visibly left behind, a quiet lesson in moving on without me. My family encouraged strength. My friends encouraged excuses. None of it eased the tightness in my chest. That's when desperation nudged me toward an impulsive idea, one born out of equal parts pride and survival. I needed a date, not for romance, not for revenge, but for dignity. That same week, I was assigned to coordinate a charity gala hosted by one of our firm's most important clients, a tech CEO named Nathaniel Brooks. He was known across the industry for his calm authority and near-mythical success. Story: rising from foster care to building a billion-dollar company. In person, he was quieter than expected, carrying himself with a grounded presence that made people feel seen even when he said very little. We worked late into the evenings, discussing logistics and last-minute changes, and somewhere between spreadsheets and cold takeout, I told him more than I intended. I mentioned the wedding casually, as if it were a minor inconvenience. I mentioned needing a date even more lightly, like a joke I hoped wouldn't land. I didn't expect anything to come of it. I certainly didn't expect him to offer. Nathaniel agreed to attend as my date. No questions asked, no conditions attached. He said it as naturally as he approved budgets or signed contracts, as if accompanying me into emotional chaos was just another calendar entry. I tried to talk myself out of it every day leading up to the wedding, convinced I had crossed an invisible line, but he never wavered. He confirmed the date, asked what color suit would be appropriate, and even researched the venue so he wouldn't feel out of place. On the morning of the wedding, I stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. Not because I looked different, but because I felt hollowed out by nerves. When Nathaniel arrived, steady and composed, something in me unclenched. He didn't make a show of his presence. He didn't try to impress anyone. He simply stood beside me, offering quiet reassurance in the form of patience and respect. The ceremony was held in a historic church, all white columns and filtered sunlight. Walking in on Nathaniel's arm, I felt eyes turn, curiosity rippling through the pews. Matthew noticed too. I saw the flicker of surprise cross his face, followed by something unreadable. But for the first time in years, his reaction didn't define my worth. As the ceremony began, I prepared myself to endure it, to count minutes until escape. But something unexpected happened. Nathaniel stayed. Not just physically, but emotionally present. He didn't check his phone or scan the room. He watched the vows with quiet attention, as if honoring the moment rather than competing with it. When emotion crept up on me, uninvited and sharp, he noticed. He didn't touch me, didn't draw attention, but his presence grounded me, reminding me that I was not alone in that sacred space of memory and closure. Listening to Matthew vow forever to someone else was painful, but it was also clarifying. I realized that what we had lost was not the future I still wanted. It was a version of myself that no longer existed. The grief softened into something like gratitude, not for the ending, but for the survival that followed it. At the reception, surrounded by laughter and clinking glasses, I expected to feel like an outsider. Instead, I felt strangely whole. Nathaniel spoke easily with strangers, deflecting attention from his status and redirecting it toward genuine connection. People were drawn to him, but he never left my side unless I encouraged him to. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't performing strength. I was simply being. As the night wore on, something shifted inside me. The wedding that had once felt like a threat transformed into a threshold. I wasn't there to prove anything. I was there to witness the end of a chapter that no longer defined me. Nathaniel didn't rescue me from my past. He walked beside me as I stepped out of it on my own. Near the end of the evening, when the dance floor emptied and the lights dimmed, I realized he had stayed through every moment. Not because he had to, because he chose to. That choice, quiet and unannounced, mattered more than grand gestures ever could. If this story is touching your heart, if it's reminding you of your own healing journey, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach people who are still finding their way. Outside the venue, the night air was warm and forgiving. I felt lighter than I had in years, not because everything was fixed, but because something essential had shifted. I thanked Nathaniel for staying, for being exactly what he was without trying to be more. He smiled in that gentle way of his, the kind that doesn't ask for anything in return. Before this story ends, I have one special request. Please comment below with the words "I choose healing" if this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that even painful invitations can lead to unexpected grace. I went home alone that night, but I didn't feel lonely. I felt open. The next morning, the wedding invitation was still on the counter, but it no longer felt sharp. It felt like proof that I had survived something that once broke me. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is show up, and sometimes, the most powerful love story begins not with romance, but with respect, presence, and the courage to stay until the vows are over.